Right, so hello. My name's Dr. William Painter, which you probably already know by now. This is Journey Road Ministries, and this is the song and sermon part, and this is the song part of the song and sermon. And so I'm going to do something. The theme today is a story in which nobody gets what they want. And I came across that from another sermon, and I really liked it. I didn't care much for the sermon, but I loved that piece, so I pinched it. I stole it, and so here we go. This is a very old song, and bear with me if you don't mind while I sing it. In a little toy shop, buy a bag of balloons with the money we got, set them free at the break of dawn, till one by one they were gone. Back at the base, bugs in the software flash the message, something's out there floating in the summer sky. 99 red balloons go by. 99 red balloons floating in the summer sky. Panic bells, it's red alert. There's something here from somewhere else. The war machine, it springs to life, opens up one eager eye, focusing it on the sky where 99 red balloons go by. 99 Decision Street, 99 ministers meet who worry super scurry. All the troops out in a hurry. This is what we waited for. This is it, boys. This is war. The president is on the line. 99 red balloons go by. 99 nights of the air ride. Super high-tech jet fighters. Everyone's a superhero. Everyone's a Captain Kirk with orders to identify, clarify and classify, scramble in the summer sky. 99 red balloons go by. 99 red balloons. 99 dreams I have had, in every one a red balloon. It's all over and I'm standing pretty in the dust that was a city. If I could find a souvenir just to prove the world was here, and here is a red balloon, I think of you and let it go. Okay, I think that's an awful fun song, and we'll catch you on the other side with a more serious. Okay, back again. This is the season after Pentecost, which I find kind of like humorous. I always find the Revised Common Lectionary kind of funny because, I mean, you have a season after a season. I mean, instead of like saying this is spring, we say this is the season after winter. And I just find it kind of curious and archaic, honestly. It is a nice way of splitting up the Bible, which you may or may not know. The Bible wasn't actually broken up into verses like this. It was broken up into verses so that people could get it in bite sizes rather than paragraphs. Well, anyway, that's where we are. And this reading, the gospel reading today, comes from Luke chapter 8, verses 26 through 39. When they arrived at the country of Gerasenes, which is opposite Galilee, as they stepped down to land, a man of the city who had demons in him met him. For a long time he had worn no clothes, and he did not live in a house, but in the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he fell down before him, shouting at the top of his voice, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High? I beg you, do not torment me." For Jesus had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man. For many times it had seized him. He was kept under guard and bound in chains and shackles, but he would break the bonds and be driven by the demon into the wilds. Jesus then asked him, "What is your name?" He said, "Legion," for many demons had entered him. They begged him not to order them to go back into the abyss. Now there on the hillside a large herd of swine was feeding, and the demons begged Jesus to let him enter those, so he gave them permission. Then the demons came out of the man, entered the swine, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and was drowned. Then when the swineherds saw what had happened, they ran off and told it in the city and in the country. Then the people came out to see what had happened, and when they came to Jesus, they found the man from whom the demons had gone, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. Those who had seen it told them how the one who had been possessed by demons had been healed. Then all the people of the surrounding country of the Gerasenes asked Jesus to leave them, for they were seized with great fear. So he got into a boat and returned. The man from whom the demons had gone begged that he might be with him, but Jesus sent him away, saying, "Return to your home and declare how much God has done for you." So he went away, proclaiming throughout the city how much Jesus had done for him. That ends the gospel. This is a really interesting passage. For one thing, it's difficult for moderns to grasp this whole idea of demons. I mean, we don't have demons. I mean, demons don't exist in our world. I mean, if they ever existed, I don't think they ever existed. I think it was simply a way, of a mechanism by which the civilizations and cultures tried to understand normal human processes. And in this case, it appears that this man was mentally ill. I mean, it's not normal for a person to run around without clothes and live in tombs. And they kept trying to, tie him up, shackle him, which is a fairly common, historically common response to mental illness. In fact, even today, you have to put a mentally ill person on the streets of any city, it's very likely the police will come along and taser them and shackle them and put them away. So I'm not sure things have changed much in the 2,000 years since the writing of this text. In any case, this man is mentally ill, and Jesus cures him. And does so by casting out the demons. Now, the reason I say this is a story where nobody gets what they want, Jesus is, he's in Gentile land, okay? He's across the lake among the Gentiles. And so that thus they have a herd of swine. And, pigs, pork was considered unclean meat for Jews. And so if you don't know that, you read this, you go, "Oh, golly, what do they do with a bunch of pigs?" They can't eat them. And these were Gentiles. These were non-Jewish people, and they had this. So Jesus cures the guy, but in the process, their food source is destroyed. I mean, can you imagine? You gotta imagine today, right? There's a crazy man in the town, an insane person. And somebody comes along and cures him, and the demons jump into all the cattle around here, and all the cattle die. And I can tell you right now, not a single person would be happy about that. I mean, they wouldn't go, "Yay!" I mean, they'd be like, "Well, I think we were okay before you got here. I think we were okay keeping that guy shackled and in the tombs." And then, they're afraid. They're afraid at the fact that Jesus had cured this guy. And so they're like, "Get out of here. Go away." And so he says, "Okay, fine." He steps into his boat. Well, this guy wants to go. He wants to go with him. And he asks, "Can I go with you?" And instead of saying, "Yeah, sure, come on, jump in," Jesus says, "No. Go back to your town and talk about what God has done for you." All right, so now put yourself in that man's shoes. All right? You're well. But at the cost of the food source for everybody in town. You're not going to be Mr. Popular, okay? They're not going to say, "Oh, well, aren't we all so happy that you're better now?" Okay? There's going to be a lot of blamification going on in this, and he's not going to want to do this. I mean, this is, yes, he's cured, but he'd just soon leave. And Jesus says, no, you got to stay and talk about it. And so the man doesn't get what he wants. The town doesn't get what they want. Jesus gets run out of town again, okay? The town people don't get what they want. Nobody gets what they want. And in fact, this passage here is kind of sandwiched in between the healing of the 12-year-old girl and the woman who had hemorrhaged for 12 years. And it's this piece, a very short piece. A lot goes on both before this event that we read about and after the event that we read about, where Jesus is healing people. And so he heals Gentiles. He heals Gentiles. And he doesn't say, well, okay, I'll heal you, but I want you to convert to Judaism, or I want you to do anything. I want you to jump through some hoops or meet my approval, or none of that. Show your willingness. Show your earnestness. Show. None of that happens. He just heals him. He heals the guy, and then the pigs all jump in the lake. And I think that is a lot about the way God works in the world. And I'm going to get serious now for a minute, because the voice of God is coming through that man who was healed, that dirty, nasty, crazy man, right? The man who was full of demons, not just one. I mean, he was so crazy, he had a legion of demons in him, right? And then he was healed, and then he is the voice of God. He said, this is what God can do. I mean, how many times do we pass by the dirty, the unwashed, the mentally ill, the unwelcome people in our neighborhoods, in our communities, and we just walk by them and we call ourselves Christians, when in fact what we're doing is we're passing by God's works. You can bet he didn't go back to the tombs. And the village, here's great things happening, and the village is like, we don't want this. Okay? The reason I sang that song about 99 red balloons is because we are in a war right now, whether you feel it or not. We are in a war with Russia. And I say that unequivocally because Russia is in a war with us. And it is not a war that we have seen before. Sure, it's being fought on the plains of the Ukraine, but it will be fought in food riots in northern Africa, in Ethiopia, because the grain from the Ukraine feeds those people, and they're not going to get it. And Russia knows this, so they're using hunger as a weapon to create chaos and disorder. And for us to meet that disaster, meet that catastrophe, we're going to have to do things we don't want to do. We're going to have to give up things we don't want to give up. I mean, look at the catastrophes that are going on in the West. You got the Colorado River drying up, and you've got floods in Yellowstone. That's exactly what climate scientists said would happen. Is that when we got water, it would be on a monsoon, and it would be destructive. And in fact, it was so destructive they closed Yellowstone National Park indefinitely, I think. And the river has rerouted itself. It has changed the topography of that land. And yet we get in our big trucks, we get in our diesel trucks, and we don't conserve. The people in my community drive to Omaha to work every day, and the price of gas is through the roof. And frankly, I'm kind of glad it is, because people will drive less, people will pollute less. We grow corn in Iowa and turn it into fuel. And I think there's going to come a day when we wished we hadn't have done that. There's going to come a day when we're going to wish that we had food that was coming out of the ground, that we could ship to places like North Africa, because it is going to be very, very difficult and horrendous. Last week I gave a sermon at the Methodist Church called How to Bear the Unbearable, and we have many unbearable things that are coming down the road to us. And we can't expect God to make it easy for us. Okay? God's not going to make it easy for us any more than he made it easy for those Gentiles. Yeah, he saved that guy, cured that guy. Yay. But what is that guy's life like now? Yeah, he's not insane. He's not harassed by demons anymore, but nobody likes him. He is stuck in a community that is going to resent him. And how is he going to deal with that? And how's that community going to come to grips with the fact that they've lost a whole herd of swine? You know, a pig feeds a lot of people. One pig. My father, I knew him as an adult, he wouldn't eat pork. And it wasn't because, for any health reasons, it was because they grew up eating pork. You know, they have a pig, they'd slaughter it in the fall, in the first freeze, and then they would eat on that all winter long. And he was sick and tired of pork. He didn't want any pork. He didn't want bacon. He didn't want ham. He particularly hated ham. A pig feeds a lot of people. You know, what do they say? I had a biology teacher tell me once, you ever use everything on the pig except the squeal. And I've eaten, there's pickled pig's feet. It's a Texas delicacy, pickled pig's feet. My teacher brought it, I think in the 7th grade or something, brought some to school, and we all passed it around and ate some pickled pig's feet. And pork rinds and pork ears, everything, livers, and when I lived in France, we couldn't get calf liver, but we get lots of pork liver. And it's pretty good stuff if you don't detest liver. It's a little different than calf liver, but it's very palatable. And all of these pigs and all that food is gone for these people, for one man to be mentally well. And it raises far more questions than it answers. You can't say, oh, look, Jesus kicked out demons, yay. Yeah, he kicked out those demons, or he healed this man of mental illness, this Gentile. Jesus' work stretched into the tombs of the land of Gentiles, right? And the result is that nobody gets what they want. The demons didn't get what they wanted. The man didn't get what he wants. The town didn't get what they want. I presume Jesus got what he wanted out of it. And for us as followers of Christ, I think the lesson for us is sometimes nobody gets what they want. But we have to love, we have to care for, we have to believe, we have to have faith, and we have to take action. Thoughts and prayers are insufficient. Thoughts and prayers, I just hate it when people say thoughts and prayers, because all of a sudden they feel like they've done something. They've contributed something, and they can sit back self-satisfied about having done nothing. I mean, it should go without saying, literally without saying. Okay? Don't say it. 99 Luftballons was written about the dreams of the German people after World War II. And every balloon represents a dream. And many of those dreams floated away because of the division between East and West Germany. And today, those dreams are still red balloons for us as we watch Russian forces pulverize Ukrainian cities for no reason other than imperial aspirations. And when I sang this song, I think about that girl standing pretty in the midst of rubble. I have seen so many pictures of bombed out cities and bombed out buildings with little children there, trying to make sense of that. And all the children that have been captured by the Russians and sent back to Russia without their parents, orphans. There are terrible things going on. And you, as a Christian or as a follower of Christ, need to step up and do something about it and help. And not just say, oh golly, I'm going to send thoughts and prayers. And even if you do, we may not get what we want. Okay, well, with that rather pessimistic note, and I'm actually not a pessimist, I encourage you to reach out, love your neighbors, love God, do well, do good, and I'll see you in 3 weeks.